Hey guys, I'm Tom on Tech Chap, and this is the new 10th generation iPad. I've got it in the Magic Folio case, which is brand new. We've got the two-piece design with the back and the keyboard there. And this guy was supposed to replace this, the 9th generation iPad, but it doesn't because Apple's still selling this. Really what they've done is added a new tier to the iPad family, and now there's 6 different models to choose from. And actually I'm working on a big iPad buying guide, so make sure you have hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. So the question is, should you spend the $450 or the £500 on the new 10th gen iPad, or should you save 120 quid or so and go with the 9th gen, or what are the better options? Well, this 10th generation iPad brings with it Apple's updated and much more premium design, now in line with the Mini, the Air and the Pros, so they've been able to squeeze in a bigger 10.9-inch screen, up from 10.2. The home button's gone, and so Touch ID now lives in the power button at the top, and at the bottom, hooray, we now get USB-C instead of Lightning, which is very welcome for future-proofing or for connecting other devices like hard drives. Although, since the new iPad still only supports the first gen Apple Pencil, which of course charges by Lightning, you can no longer do the lollipop charging that you can on an old one. In fact, you have to dongle, double dongle. You can buy this guy for about $9, this USB-C to Apple Pencil adapter. Plug it in one side, not that side, that way around as well. But this is how you charge the Apple Pencil via the new iPad. Why couldn't they give us Apple Pencil 2? Some say it's because schools use these base iPads a lot and there's millions of these about and they want it to work if they upgrade from the old iPad to the new, but come on, it's a bit silly. But hey, they do get extra points for giving us this very nice braided cable and also the power adapter in the box. And speaking of connectivity, we do also now get Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.2. We also now get stereo speakers, so your music, your videos, and video calls all sound much better as it's not all coming from one side. Hey guys, I'm Tom on Tech Chap, and this is the new iPhone 14 Plus. Hey guys, I'm Tom on Tech Chap, and this is the new iPhone 14 Plus. A pair of headphones are always better though for you and, well, anyone around you. And while there is still no headphone jack, we do now get support for Apple's spatial audio. And so if you have compatible AirPods, having that kind of 3D audio, particularly for watching movies, I found really does add to the experience. Now around the back, this looks very similar to the iPad Air. In fact, the only way you can really tell between them is it says iPad rather than iPad Air on the bottom here. But importantly, this camera, in fact both cameras, have had a big upgrade. But more exciting is what we have up front. Because for the first time on any iPad, we now have a landscape orientation for the 12 megapixel selfie camera, which makes a whole lot of sense if you're making video calls and you've paired it with a keyboard. But what is really peculiar is only this 10th gen iPad model has this so far. Now on the inside, this is powered by the A14 Bionic chip, up from the A13, and all while keeping battery life the same at about 10 hours. Also, if you do add mobile connectivity with the LTE option, you now get 5G with this, up from 4G, which is very nice, although that does cost more and you have to pay for the SIM plan as well. I probably wouldn't bother with that. Most of the time I have Wi-Fi or a hotspot for my phone anyway, but the best bit, the real upgrade, I think you'll agree, are the new colors. I have the very snazzy blue color, and when the light hits it just right, oh, that's a bit tasty. I think this is my favorite color, but it also comes in yellow, pink, and silver. Now, as always, the £500 price tag is just the start because you can add more storage, you can add the 5G option, you can get all these accessories, and you can start to get very, very pricey. And slightly frustratingly, the base storage option is just 64 gigabytes. 128 would have been ideal, or perhaps the ideal upgrade, but no, you have to pay 150 more to get 256 gigs of the stuff, which is a lot of money, especially for the base iPad like this. I think for most people, 64 gigabytes is absolutely fine. I mean, you can always back up to iCloud or Dropbox or your Google Drive for your files, and if you're not downloading tons of big games or shooting loads of 4K video, you'll be fine. The flip side of that argument though is that you can't upgrade the storage yourself, and these things are pretty future-proof. You're probably gonna hang on to this for the next 5 years or so. So maybe if you can stretch to get the higher storage option up front, down the line you can then add the extras like the keyboards and the pencils, but that's the only thing you can't change. It's also important to remember that regardless of which iPad you go for, they basically run and play all the same apps and games.
They double him with green, brown outside.
But hang on a second, what is the very first thing you should do when you get your new iPad or any new device really? That's right, download Surfshark VPN. Why? Well, because they're very kindly sponsoring this video, but also because they're the best damn VPN you can get. And even my face is on their website. And if you use the code TechChap at the checkout, you can get 83% off and 3 months extra for free. Not too shabby. Plus there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you're not losing anything. And basically, Surfshark helps you browse the web more safely. It helps to prevent tracking and ads and malware and all those nasty things. Plus, being from the UK, it's kind of useful to be able to log into US streaming sites sometimes. So getting around region-locked content is really useful. It's incredibly fast, really simple to use. I also love the fact that one subscription will cover an unlimited number of devices, so all your family. And there's an app for pretty much every device. There's even a Chrome extension if you prefer. So why not check out Surfshark VPN? Use the code TechChap to get 83% off and 3 months extra for free, and I'll leave a link in the description below to get started. Also, both of these, the 9th and 10th gen, use the 1st gen Apple Pencil. They both have keyboard options, although the 10th gen iPad does have this very nifty exclusive Magic Folio keyboard case, and with this kickstand, it turns it into a bit of a Surface Pro 9 lookalike. It's a pretty cool setup. Downsides, it's £250. Holy moly, is this thing expensive. It's half the price of the bloody iPad, which I think is a bit ridiculous. Also, while the dual design is kind of nice, I do quite like that you can just leave the keyboard at home if you're not going to use it, and then just have this back protective panel with that kickstand if you're just watching movies, or then you can connect it up. And it is magnetic, so you don't have to worry about Bluetooth pairing or charging. It's just good to go straight away, and then you've got your keyboard. But unlike something like the Surface Pro 9, which then flicks up to this sort of more comfortable higher level, doesn't do anything like that. And also, I've had a couple of times when I'm adjusting the stand and it just accidentally pulls the whole thing off. The magnets aren't as strong as maybe I'd like on the back. And it's £250. Let me just check something. How much is it if we go for the highest storage option, 256, with Wi-Fi, because you're not really going to want 5G, no engraving. Don't engrave your iPads, because you're not going to be able to resell it. Add the pencil, because you might want to do some drawing or note taking. Obviously, you'll have to add the adapter. And then let's add that Folio case. So, you're going to get the proper 10th gen iPad experience, bit more storage, pencil, and the case, £1,076. Holy moly, that's a lot of money. For this iPad, maybe a different story for the Airs and Pros, we'll see when we come to that buying guide. But for this guy, stick with the 64 gigs of storage. You probably don't need an Apple Pencil, your finger's good enough for most things. And the keyboard, maybe down the line, or go for maybe one of the alternatives from, say, Logitech. Not quite as fancy, but it's half the price. Anyway, let's move on and talk about this screen, because not only is it 0.7 inch bigger, the slightly wider aspect ratio means that when you're watching videos and movies, those chunky black bezels are actually a little bit smaller and your video uses more of the screen. The bigger screen also means having a couple of apps side by side is more comfortable to use, but sadly we don't get that new Stage Manager feature. This is exclusive to the Air and the Pros. The real upgrade though is this. Look at that. It stands up by itself. Can't do that with a 9th gen iPad. May as well chuck this in the bin. Sticking with the screen, and while Apple called this their Retina display, this is a liquid Retina display, which really isn't that much different actually. Same brightness, same PPI, pixel per inch density, no HDR, and uniquely to these two, neither have a laminated screen, which is a bit surprising for a 2022 tablet that costs £500. Honestly though, it's not really a big deal. Only if you tilt it and then look at the edges, you can just about see that little bit of a gap between the glass and the screen. So we have the new A14 Bionic chip, but just how fast is this? Well, in Geekbench, we get an average 19% optic for the processor, and in 3D Mark, which focuses on the graphics, we're looking at a 10% boost. Nothing crazy then, and actually in everyday life, you're really not going to notice much difference. Even loading up games, there was a split-second difference, not much in it. The bigger issue is that they're all limited to 60 Hz. Only the Pro models get that ProMotion 120 Hz. However, I did notice jumping into NBA 2K23 from the Apple Arcade that the default graphics options were all high or ultra on the new iPad, but medium to high on the older 9th gen model, and it wouldn't let me switch to the higher settings. So straight away, for gaming, the A14 does seem to make a difference. And of course, having a slightly newer chip also makes this a bit more future-proof. Now, battery life is largely unchanged. Apple says you'll get 10 hours with this, same as the 9th gen, and actually from my tests side by side, that's pretty much bang on. Although of course it all depends if you're using it to read books with the Kindle app and maybe read articles online, or if you're editing videos in iMovie or playing games. I'll tell you what did surprise me though, just how much better these cameras are. The combination of the higher 12 megapixel camera plus the better processing of the A14 chip means we're getting much more detail, and you can see the dynamic range and how it handles the bright highlights of that lamp much better, and the difference is even more stark when you punch into the 2x digital zoom. Plus, of course, we also have that higher quality 4K video. But even more impressive and more useful, I think, the front cameras. Now, I'm actually recording this on the 9th generation iPad, and you can see I'm off center because the camera is on the top bezel, or the right-hand side for me, as I've got it in landscape. But then, if we switch over to the 10th generation, not only is the quality better, but look at that, I'm in the center of the frame. Not because of center stage, which it also has, but because we've got this landscape orientation for the camera. So as I'm looking at the iPad, it's on the top bezel, which just makes a lot of sense. And I still can't believe that this is the only iPad that has that. Even the Pros don't. So the cameras are a big step up, but let's talk about the Apple Pencil again, because while the charging mechanism's a bit silly, it's not the end of the world. And actually, functionally, the Apple Pencil Gen 1 is the same as Gen 2, same latency, same responsiveness. And if you are doing a whole bunch of doodling and drawing and note-taking, especially if you want handwritten style notes, maybe it is worth getting. It's £110, it is quite expensive, but like the keyboard, you could always get that at a later date. Although I promise you, you are gonna lose this cap, and because it doesn't have that magnetic attachment, or the wireless charging, you're probably going to forget to bring it with you as well sometimes. Okay, so let's wrap up. Should you buy the new 10th gen iPad? Well, maybe. It's a tough one, because particularly outside the US, where Apple have increased their prices, it does make it a harder recommendation. 500 quid is an awful lot of money for the base iPad. What makes it even more difficult is that you've got older models to consider. I think I would actually take the 4th gen, so the last version iPad Air, which on Amazon right now I can find for a little bit cheaper actually, around $480, which I think actually is overall a better buy. It's very, very similar spec, but it's actually a little bit thinner, a little bit lighter. You get Apple Pencil Gen 2 support, a better screen that supports P3 wide color. It's also laminated. You do miss out on the 5G option and also the high quality front camera, which is obviously in the better location now. That's the main downside. But I would probably go for that. You could also consider the new 5th gen iPad Air, which is about 170 more than this. It's quite a lot more, and it's still 64 gigs of base storage, which is a bit unforgivable, but you do get the M1 chip, the slightly better display, Apple Pencil Gen 2 support, and proper Magic Keyboard compatibility. And if you are doing more editing and the apps you use are more demanding, then that's probably worth a step up, yes. But for everyday use, for browsing the web, making notes, watching Netflix, that kind of stuff, reading books, no, just stick with this. And also, I think the 9th gen is still also definitely worth considering. It's £120 less at $329. All of these do have a student and teacher discount, by the way, which is definitely worth checking out. What do you think though? Would you be tempted to get one of these, or are you not particularly impressed? Let me know what you make of the 10th gen iPad in the comments below. And if you did enjoy this video, which hopefully you did, and I'm guessing you did because you watched to the end, a cheeky like and subscribe would be very much appreciated. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chap. Oh, and don't forget to check out Surfshark VPN. Using my code TechChap, you can get 83% off and 3 months extra for free, which is very nice of them, and there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So why not give it a try?